Well, this isn't the video I thought I'd be making today. However, I'm still fairly encouraged. I don't know, not the best way to put it, but I'm still enthusiastic. I'm not as concerned as some people. Some people are quite paranoid. They're dooming a lot on what they saw last night, which was an fairly good performance in the suburbs, but underperformance in the rurals. There's a fairly high youth vote that was unexpected. And a very good performance by some state GOPs, and then some states that completely dropped the ball. So some of that was on candidate quality, some of that was on funding, some of that was on the RGA. It was on a lot of different factors. I'm going to break that down more in another video. What this video actually is going to be is how Republicans will still win the Senate and what the path to that looks like. So, well, we'll just look at the information. So last night, Republicans didn't get that massive red wave that was expected by pretty much every single pollster, almost every media outlet with any credibility, and even many left wing poll watchers or whatever, predictors, electoral analysts, they thought the same thing. They thought there's going to be a pretty good wave for Republicans. It may not be as big as some of us are predicting, but there was still going to be one, and then we didn't really see that. What we saw is massive underperformances in some states and massive overperformances by Republicans in others, which, again, talk about that a bit later. So this is the New York Times map. The only difference is Wisconsin has just been called by NBC, so that one is another Republican seat that puts us 48 to 48. So that leaves the four states left: Nevada, Arizona, Alaska, and Georgia. Alaska will end up going Republican, no matter what, whether it be Chewbacca or Murkowski. I could hope it would be Chewbacca, but unfortunately, it'll probably be Murkowski. If we look here, you can see the remaining votes are going to maybe come in the same margin, but again, ranked choice voting in that state will probably give it to Murkowski. But either way, that's still technically a Republican hold, even if not much of one. It's still a Republican hold, so that puts you at 49. And then we have the state of Nevada. As you can see, Laxalt is leading, which is good. He is leading 50 to 47. That margin could potentially widen, or it could stay fairly consistent. 75% is counted. Large portions of the votes are still remaining in pretty much all these counties, which are all Laxalt counties. They're not massive counties population-wise, but they'll still net him a few votes. And then there's still a decent bit left in Clark, which he has gained a fair bit in. If he can keep the margins around that, he can win it, and he probably will. It could get a bit closer. It wouldn't necessarily be 50-47. It might be like 59-48, but realistically, Laxalt can and probably will win that, so that gives you 50 right there. So Alaska, Nevada, Wisconsin, that is 50. So they are now tied. That means Republicans are at a point where they have to win one of Georgia and Arizona. So Georgia could happen, but we won't know what happens with that one until December, because it's almost guaranteed going to a runoff. It's within 0.9%, and no one candidate has over 50%. Herschel Walker did better than some expected. I kind of thought he'd win. Then there's the Libertarians, who completely ruined everything and spoiled it. Usual story, but Georgia, because of its runoff system, it will go to a runoff, and that won't be decided for a while. I think Republicans can win the runoff if they properly campaign and put energy and focus into it. But it's the Republican Party. It's too much to ask for sometimes for them to be competent at anything. But we'll see. That's one path to a Senate majority. And then the more likely path, which we could potentially see today, if they ever get around to counting the ballots at any reasonable speed, is Arizona. So Arizona has shifted a fair bit from where it was. There's still, I've heard, anywhere from 650 to like 900,000, almost a million votes left in the state. And most of those in the last few dumps have been breaking for Blake Masters and Kari Lake. If we look here, Kari Lake was behind a fair bit, is now only about 12,000 votes behind, and likely will take the lead when the counting is done. So that is good. At least we got Kari Lake in the state. We needed that. That is very, very reassuring. Most of the votes will break 70 to 30 for her, which is generally what's been going on. So assuming that's the case in the state of Arizona, when it comes to the Senate race, Blake Masters will pull off the win, but it'll be close. It'll be very close. But it is very, very doable, assuming he can keep up that almost 70% margin in most of the remaining vote dumps of the around 600 to 800 something thousand or 900,000 votes. If they break continuously at that rate, he does win it, and by an okay margin. Not a massive margin, but an okay margin. And that ultimately would lead to Republicans winning the state of Arizona in the Senate, which is necessary. It's good to see. Republicans did well in the Sun Belt, very well in the Sun Belt, but they massively underperformed in the Rust Belt. That's what we've really seen. But either way, if Blake Masters can win, that gives us the Senate. This isn't a complete failure of a night. It's still not amazing, but it's not a complete failure, and Republicans aren't completely screwed, and neither are Americans. Very well, Kari Lake and Blake Masters will have probably saved this country. So we'll see what happens as the day goes on, but just to reassure those who are freaking out or who are concerned or worried, don't worry. This is still very winnable. Potentially even 52 Senate seats is possible. If we can also get Georgia, that would just be expanding. So we'll see what happens. Everyone just pray, relax, don't freak out, pay attention to what's going on in Arizona, pay attention to Nevada, and we will win this.